And hello there. My name is Strike Alpha, and today I'm going to be casting my friend Shiftt's game as they play Riven alongside a Poppy, LeBlanc, Kaisa, and Morgana on the red team. They're going to be playing against a Garen, Soraka, Akali, Sivir, and Xin Zhao. So, just before we even get into any part of this matchup, got to recognize the Poppy jungle. Um, this past weekend with EULCS, there was a very special interview with Vitality's coach involving why they picked a Poppy jungle. If you haven't seen it, you should try and see it because it was the most real interview ever, and I got a lot higher opinion of the EULCS as a result of that. But anyway, in terms of these matchups, now that we've gotten into this game, we got a pretty decent team comp for the blue team. Akali is pretty interesting right now, and she's going to be going against another assassin, so that kind of works out for both, or in terms of like both teams having like a similar composition. Although it looks like there might be a quick first blood going on here, but Kaisa has the flash and heal to get out of it. But yeah, I like blue team's team comp. They have a lot of team fighting potential, and Soraka gets hit with that dark binding, but she's not going to go down. Meanwhile, Sivir gets that boomerang blade off, and that is the first blood for blue team. Meanwhile, Lollipoppy is coming through. She slams that Soraka against the wall, but Soraka flashes out, and now it looks like Kaisa is trying to move up, but this might be the end of Poppy as well, and another boomerang blade comes down, and that's the second kill for this Sivir. But yeah, blue team has a really nice team comp. It has the capacity to pick. It also has kind of like a 2-2-1, I guess, formation, where it's 2 in the front line, 2 in the back line, and 1 kind of going all over the place in terms of like where they want to work off of. So I like it. I like the blue team. The red team's team comp has a similar situation going on, except I got to question whether or not the Morgana is going to be able to be tanky enough to kind of make that stuff work as well. Because it's going to be, well, either it's going to be Morgana or it's going to be Riven. And we got this fight going on here. Poppy might not be making it out of here alive. If LeBlanc comes through and helps, maybe, but it looks like this is going to be a kill for Zen. Now LeBlanc's moving in. It might be a little too late. Things are going really crazy up top right now. It looks like Garen might be getting ready to go down here. Meanwhile, and that is pretty much the end of Zen. Meanwhile, LeBlanc gets ignited, and that's not going to be a kill for this Akali. She was so close, but just didn't get that last bit of damage down. Meanwhile, it looks like Riven's going to go ahead and catch Akali out. I don't know if she's going to be able to get this. Oh, and she's not going to be able to, but it looks like Poppy is right there. Akali's going to go ahead and hit that speed boost. She should be able to escape now. Especially with her, oh, and that flash dash with the Riven gets that kill. Actually, that was a pretty good move there. But yeah, the red team is looking more towards the picks, so this is going to be kind of a little interesting. They do have some team fighting capacity, and that's going to be dependent on whether or not there's going to be another tank with this Poppy. The more damage you put on Riven, the higher capacity she has to tank, I guess. Really interesting aspect of her kit, so we gotta see how this Riven decides to build, and if she's going to be able to get ahead enough to build into kind of a raid boss situation. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about these individual lane matchups. In the top lane, we got Riven and Garen. going at it. Right now, Riven has the early advantage, getting a kill off that early invade from the pop, or not from the poppy, from the Zen. In terms of the actual matchup itself, Garen probably has a little bit of an advantage. As we've been seeing, Garen definitely has been doing a lot more damage compared to Riven in these trades. So it's definitely a good move for Riven to kind of play it a little safer, but now it doesn't look like she's going to be playing anything too safe because she gets ganked out by the Zen, and this is going to burn her. She's going to burn out, and that's going to be a kill for the Zen. But yeah, Garen should have that matchup a little earlier thanks to his heal, and now that he has his ult, things probably won't turn out all that great for him either. Meanwhile, in bot, it looks like this Rock is going to go ahead and get this kill on the Kai'Sa. Wasn't necessarily sure if she was going to back off, but she took so much damage, or so much kind of like chip damage from these two, that there really was no hope for the Kai'Sa getting out of there after she got exhausted. But yeah, the next matchup we're going to talk a little bit about is the jungle matchup with Zen and Poppy. Right now, Zen, I think, probably has a stronger capacity for kind of making an impact on a lot of these lanes. He's been able to successfully gank at least twice. Meanwhile, the Poppy hasn't necessarily been able to get kind of going on her own. As long as Poppy builds tanky, that shouldn't necessarily be a problem too much further on. And we got a fight up top, and the judgment comes through, and Garen gets hit with a Riven Wind Slash, almost gets taken out. Garen throws that judgment at her, and she can't take it. So again, like I said, that matchup is going to be heavily tilted towards Garen now that he's level 6, and we'll have to see if the Riven is going to be able to kind of work through that and still stay relevant later on in this game. But in terms of this jungle matchup, again, it's going to come down to whether or not these guys are going to be able to influence other lanes. Right now, Zen, I think, has a lot better potential to influence the lanes early on, and he's definitely showing that. Poppy is trying to also do a little bit of that, but she hasn't necessarily been 100% successful with that yet, so we're gonna have to watch if she's gonna be able to kind of get some of these ganks going and help her team out. Like right now, she just takes the blast plant over in bot lane, and now looks like we got a full party here. Let's say it looks like Soraka's gonna go down. Poppy's gonna get that kill. Meanwhile, Kai'Sa might have went a little too far, and in the process of that, Sivir goes down, and it looks like Poppy's gonna go down to the Zen. Meanwhile, Morgana is trying to run, but she's not going to be able to make it out, and looks like Akali just kind of laughs at her as she tries to escape from her fate. That is going to cause a early dragon for the, or this is going to lead to an early dragon for the blue team. It's going to be an Ocean Drake, so that's really going to be nice for these guys, especially considering the poke damage that Kai'Sa and Morgana have. Won't necessarily save them from a massive amount of bursts, say from LeBlanc or from Riven for that matter, but it's definitely something that will help these guys later on in the game once they start to siege. That's it though. Let's go ahead and move to this mid matchup. We got Akali and LeBlanc. I'm going to say really interesting situation here, just because Akali is, she's a really interesting champion. She has a lot of damage potential, but she also has a lot of kind of weaving in and out of combat associated with her kit. That's going to be kind of interesting considering, or this is going to lead to an interesting matchup with this LeBlanc, as LeBlanc, as we all know, has the capacity to kind of do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. But once she decides to go in, she's not really able to pursue any longer after that if she doesn't necessarily get her target. So it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup. Right now, it looks like Akali and LeBlanc are both kind of even right now. I honestly would think that LeBlanc should have the advantage at this point now that she is level 6. Meanwhile, it looks like Garen's not going to live through this, but in bot, it looks like Morgana actually got jumped on pretty hard, and Garen's going to be able to make it out of that situation. Meanwhile, there's a shuriken stuck in LeBlanc. She's taking a lot of damage, and I think I'm actually kind of impressed at this Akali just because of how they were able to kind of guess which one to go for. But with that, it looks like this might be the end of Akali. Poppy is trying to dive. She doesn't have that original ult that she used to have, and as a result, she's not going to make it out now that Zen is able to join that fight. Meanwhile, Kaisa is trying to stop getting jumped down, and meanwhile, oh, Riven might have went a little too far. She flashes that wall. She should have had that kill, but Akali was pretty smart about how she handled it, and Zen was thankfully in the area to make that surprise ignite not mean much for the blue team. Oh wait, not mean much. Yeah, okay. So next, well, yeah, finishing up what I was talking about with mid. I was under the impression that LeBlanc should have the capacity to win that fight with Akali once they hit level 6, but also I forgot to keep in mind the really important fact that Akali will chase people down, and she also has ways to avoid being targeted. If she hops into that smoke screen, that's pretty much that only leads to, that essentially negates an entire spell coming from LeBlanc, in all honesty. That sigil is definitely something that needs to be point and click, so if Akali hops into that shroud, that essentially negates a pretty significant amount of the damage that LeBlanc has coming for her. So maybe I might need to change my initial assumption and say that now that Akali is level 6, this might be pretty much the end of LeBlanc's dominance in lane. I mean, as of this point, it's not really the laning phase anymore, just because bot lane lost their tower, and now Blue's bot has started to rotate towards mid, and they are staying in mid. But even so, I think that Akali is definitely going to be a massive problem for the red team, just because of how she was able to kind of stop the whole LeBlanc situation. Meanwhile, we got a fight up in mid. Akali's dashing around all over the place. Kaisa might have went a little too far. Meanwhile, Zen is trying to stop this Poppy from meaning anything in this team fight. He is going to be able to do that. Meanwhile, now he's in pursuit of all of the red team right now. A lot of damage coming down on this block. I don't know which one is going to be it. It looks like the main one is going to make it out. But now we got the boomerang blade coming through, just to kill on the Morgana, but she might have made a mistake. She flashed in order to get that. Oh, but Zen is there to save her, as well as the Soraka to give her a few more heals, and that is, looks like it might be another tower for this blue team if they're able to get these minions up. And so Riven is not going to be able to defend this tower by herself. So that is going to, in fact, be another tower for the blue team within the 15-minute mark. Finally, I guess let's talk about this bot lane matchup. It might be a good idea to go ahead and do that. Let's say Akali luckily making it out of that situation, because that definitely wasn't a good situation to be in. But anyway, the bot lane matchup, we have Severe and Soraka versus Kaisa and Morgana. Severe, while she isn't necessarily, oh, and we got a third tower going down for the blue team. But yeah, Kaisa and Morgana, it's a pretty decent team, or bot lane composition. Lots of poke and lots of kill potential, with Kaisa's capacity to throw quite a bit of damage towards our opponents. It definitely should have made things a little easier during that laning phase. However, it looks like the combination of Soraka and Sivir with their poke damage and chip damage essentially kind of doing their part to... Oh, and we got a fight here in top. Looks like LeBlanc's going to take a little bit of damage, but she's not really going to do too much more afterwards. But yeah, Sivir and Soraka are going to be more of poking and sustaining, and obviously that was the best plan, or that was a really good move in this situation, because right now Sivir is 5-0-5, with the Soraka also being 3-1-10, or not 3-1-10, 3-1-7. But in terms of how they're both going to be able to contribute, or how, let's just say that I would honestly prefer the bot lane comp duo a lot more than, I would prefer the bot lane duo on the blue team a lot more than the red team duo, just because of the utility associated with both of the champions. Akali and Garen and Zen essentially have to run in if they want to start a fight. Akali does have some capacity to start fights from a distance, but that isn't 100% reliable. So now that Sivir essentially is okay, now that Sivir is pretty set, whenever the team needs to start a team fight, she can ult, and all of them have mechanisms for getting into the enemy team, along with Soraka being able to kind of throw down heals. If she's able to get Ardent Sensor, throwing down a heal, either being Redemption or her ultimate, should definitely act as a major boon for her team. Two of her teammates are operating off auto attacks. Well, three of her teammates are operating off auto attacks, with Zen, Sivir, and Garen looking to kind of do their part. So, like I said, I honestly feel like the team fighting aspect of this matchup is going to heavily favor the blue team. It's only a matter of whether or not we're going to get ahead, and at this point, seeing that they're almost 10k, 10.5, almost 11k gold ahead, definitely looking like this is going to be working in blue team's favor from now on, and could potentially lead to a fairly set match moving forward. Whoa, and so much damage coming out from this Garen. He's spinning, and he's in the bush. And so Soraka is finally here to help, but the silence field isn't going to be enough to keep the Garen from dying. Meanwhile, it looks like Zen goes ahead and flashes in, trying to get this kill on both Kai'Sa and Morgana, but only Sivir is going to be able to get that kill on this Kai'Sa. Meanwhile, Morgana is about to try and make it out, and the Dark Binding goes down. This should be the end of the Sivir, but the heal comes out, and that is going to be a saved Sivir. Meanwhile, it looks like Soraka is pretty much dead. She throws down the silence field, but it's not going to do anything, especially against this LeBlanc that had perfect vision of her. And that will be it. Oh no. Okay, so the Rift Herald actually was able to break open the red team's base. That's definitely not good for these guys, especially with that happening before the 20-minute mark. I don't know if this is going to be great, or I don't know if they can necessarily fight their way through this, but we'll have to see. Meanwhile, it looks like Garen and Akali are starting to fight with the majority of this red team here. All 5 members are present. Meanwhile, Akali's trying to run. She dashes away. I don't think she's going to be able to make it out of this, but the redemption comes down just a second too late. Meanwhile, Garen is going to get that kill on this Kai'Sa, and woo, man, that's That was a pretty tight situation, but it looks like Sylvia is going to get that kill. She's going to move up to 8-0-5. Definitely one of the powerhouses behind this blue team in terms of team fighting and fighting in general. Meanwhile, it looks like Zen was going for that bottom inner tower, and he's going to be able to take that, as well as the top tower is going to be taken for this blue team. Right now, it's not looking so great for the red team. They're currently down almost 13k gold. Yeah, that's it's getting pretty hectic out here now. Oh, and Sivir's almost gonna get out, but she's gonna back out. Now Poppy is going after her as much as she can. Sivir goes ahead, throws down her ult. I don't know if she's gonna be able to run out as fast as she needs to, and the burn from the ignite goes down, or not from the ignite, from the red buff. Kali's trying her part to try and get some revenge, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen this time. Meanwhile, it looks like Riven's going to go ahead and get out of a potentially sticky situation by hopping that wall with her broken wings. But yeah, this is turning into a semi one-sided matchup. Although now it looks like the red team is starting to kind of mount their own offense now. Might have taken them a second. But at the same time, they are still not out of this matchup, even in the least bit. Meanwhile, Zen is starting to move forward now. Soraka trying to keep herself alive against this Kai'Sa's onslaught, especially with the missile barrages coming through. Meanwhile, it looks like Zen is going to want to start this fight. He throws down his ult. He's doing the best he can. And it looks like 3 members of the red team are going to go down. LeBlanc's going to go down to Garen, while Akali is going to get this Morgana, and it looks like Sivir is going to get the Kai'Sa. Also, it looks like blue team is going to be pushing out both bottom and top lanes right now, and oh, the Riven comes through, she flashes through and pretty much bursts out the Soraka before she's able to really realize what's going on. We say Poppy tried to get in on that action too, but unfortunately she was not tanky enough to make it out. And it looks like a second tower is going to go down in the red team base. Now it looks like the inhibs are in danger finally. We say Soraka's trying to, not Soraka, Sivir's trying her part to get the kills, but now it looks like Morgana's not going to make it out either. Akali's definitely doing a lot of work right now, and that is going to be the first inhib of the game going for the blue team. Meanwhile, up top, it looks like Garen is going to take that last base defense tower. Right now, there's 2 inhibs up for the red team. They're going to have to pull some pretty interesting strategies if they plan on making a comeback in this situation. Meanwhile, it looks like Garen is starting this fight with the Poppy. Poppy's trying her best to keep up with him, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen for any longer. Meanwhile, the blue team is going to get their third dragon, second Ocean Drake. Things, again, like I said, are heavily in this blue team's favor. Just kind of looking at some of these builds right now, Garen is in a pretty good place right now in terms of becoming a tank. Soraka is also doing pretty good as well. She's not necessarily going to work the same way as a tank, but she has a lot of capacity to get extra healing down. Meanwhile, this Garen is taking so much of a beating. Ooh. I'm going to say Kai'Sa had to get in on that, but yeah, she's going to be the one to walk away with that kill on this Garen. But yeah, so Soraka is definitely in a good spot in terms of her healing capacity. Akali is building so much magic pen and whatnot. She's definitely also in a good spot as well. along with that move speed. Looks like she's going to be building a Lich Bane next, which is not necessarily something the red team is really going to want to deal with, considering Akali's kit. And say really dependent on landing those abilities, and once you land those abilities, more damage can come in behind them. So we'll oh, and Severe goes ahead, throws down on the hunt. She's running from this Riven. Riven goes ahead, hits her ult, but she's not going to get anything from it. Meanwhile, it looks like Severe gets hit with the missile barrage, unable to really make anything happen after that. Meanwhile, Garen gets hit with that dark binding, and he is gonna go just kind of stand there for a second, and the red team will be able to retreat. Meanwhile, it looks like Garen is trying to go out and Poppy a little bit. Akali's doing her part to try and make things easier for her team. Meanwhile, I think she might have went a little too far. Kaisa is going to be able to get that kill on this Akali, but not before she gets that kill on Morgana. Zen is pretty much doing work along with this Garen, and it looks like this is going to be a, well, not necessarily 5-0, but 4-0 while the fifth member is down. Not 5-0, 5-1 for the blue team. And now that looks like that will be it. There's going to be a surrender vote coming out for this red team, and it's going to be 4 votes against 0 in favor of the blue team. Good game. So with that, just kind of looking at how that game turned out, it definitely was thanks to a few members of the blue team. Soraka was able to get this Sivir ahead pretty early, and we definitely saw a little bit of the impact of that as we were moving forward. Zen was also being quite a bit of a playmaker, finishing up 11, 1, and 10, while still managing to keep his CS count pretty high while he was in that jungle. So good job on him as well. So yeah, finishing up, I'd like to again thank my friend I'd like to thank my friend Shiftt for allowing me to cast their game. And again, if you are interested in having your own games cast by me, again, my name is Strike Alpha. I gotta stop saying again because I feel like I'm saying that way too often, but with that, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. My name is Strike Alpha, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. All right, bye.